No, he's up there in He's up in here to take your calls. When he comes through, which of these is going to which is laying water with the water. It will depend on his time and how much time he has to be here. So anything that would be there's other places he can stop. What he thinks is a great deal. And he gets that, he rolls in ones. And he's like, Dad, I have never plans for us for lunch. Yeah, it's something he likes. So I'll let him do what oh, okay. He moves his party. You know, everything. I've been known to be very mean.
No.
Yeah. I know some of this story.
No, it's not. It's hard. I share. I am a.
Oh, no.
I didn't realize that.
Good evening, everybody. Glad you're here. Glad you're enjoying everybody's company. Yeah, my Greek. Ooh, James. Help me back.
I did that on purpose.
Okay. Again, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. Hope you've been staying cool and not totally guilty in the record of your defeat. I understand we're at a 10-year record. Before we get started, we do have a couple of quick updates that you need to know about. James Butts, as you know, is in the hospital and has some issues. They think they may have found bleeding ulcers, and small ones, and so we hope that they get that taken care of, calm down. There are a number of others who are having difficulties right now. We're sorry to say that, Sister Evelyn went home about 20 minutes ago. She passed away. Brother PR was there with her family. And so, we certainly want to keep them in our prayers. And many of you've known the Dukes for a long time. And they're a blessed family. So we certainly want to keep them in our thoughts, our prayers. I know that they'll be having funeral arrangements announced pretty soon. Ruth Rigby fell out of the bed today and did something, so she's in Vanderbilt, as I understand. Yeah, so beyond that, don't know. Bill Gamble, maybe you know, has some pancreatic issues. He was down in Florida. I don't know at the house. I don't know any more news on that. So, a lot of folks that just need our prayers. So before we get started tonight, let's pray. Father, we come before you with our hearts both in turmoil and sorrow, but at the same time with thanksgiving for your goodness and graciousness toward us. We thank you for your Son Jesus. We thank you for all the possibilities that opens up and that he conquered death so that we might conquer as well. We ask you to be with Bill Campbell, with Ruth Rigby, with James Butts, and heal them, Father, and bless them. And especially now, Father, we ask that you be with the Duke family. May they find comfort and consolation and hope in you. May we ourselves be and render that comfort to them with which we have been comforted. You know that a lot of us have endured situations similar, and you have blessed us through it. Help us to bless them now as a result. Be with that family. And now, Father, thank you that for this time we get together to share, to laugh, to encourage each other. In Jesus' name, amen. So what do I want to hear tonight? I mean, this is my story. As you know, we've been having this series where the elders and the staff talk about their story, their background, some of their faith journey, and things like that. And so this is my journey. Some of you I've known for 20 or 30 years. I'm sure you've not heard all of this, and some of you just met me a few years ago. And so here it comes. Here's the rest of the story. I am officially Harvey L. Jr. And so you can call me Harvey anytime, or Right Reverend Maloney, whichever. I am from Vicksburg, Mississippi. In case you have a little bit of geographical orientation problem, there is, whoa, help me, James.
Harvey. Try it again.
All right, here we go. Right there is Vicksburg, where the red arrow is. Next door to Alabama, next door to Louisiana, part of the Gulf. Had a friend here at Tuscaloosa one time told me, he says he was from Alabama. He said, well, we always used to say, at least it ain't Mississippi. I was like, yeah, I know. We always used to say, at least it ain't Louisiana. So everybody has their whipping boy. I mean, that's where I grew up, in rural Mississippi. I was born in 1953. Mississippi, Vicksburg is a beautiful old town. lot of gorgeous old churches, a lot of antebellum homes, a lot of turn of the century homes. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it also has some absolutely hideous sides to it. But it is a very mellow, loving town. I tell you what, Karen and I went back to my 50th class reunion. There's nothing like being able to cross over 4 lanes of traffic pulling out of a stop of a parking lot and not get honked at and run over. It's just amazing. People are cordial and friendly. We were staying at a hotel, and we were leaving out, and there was a lady there who was doing the laundry. She was one of the staff there. And I told Karen, I said, tell Mom that we're going to be home before 10. And she came over and hugged us. So, you know, it's a very loving and cordial town. This is Main Street. This was at Christmas. Now, folks, if you go down there, it's going to look like that now. That picture was taken 10 years ago. It has always looked like that. And as far as I know, it will always look like that. There are small businesses up and down the street there. There's the corner something store. I mean, just a town with a lot of small businesses and everything. Brick paved streets are original. It's just a quiet little town. Vicksburg was the center of a huge battle for the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln says, unless we have Vicksburg, the key to Vicksburg in our pocket, we cannot win the Civil War. And so the federal soldiers laid siege to Vicksburg. It was a long and nasty siege. As you can see now, there are a lot of everywhere you turn, there's all kinds of Civil War monuments. There's a huge federal military park there. Some tourists, you know, they sit on the cannons and things like that. There's the Great Mississippi in the background. There's an old wrought iron bridge that I went back and forth over several times. Our parents always warned us, do not cross that bridge. It is certain death if you cross that bridge, because the semis would go back and forth on it. There's windows, their rear mirrors are scraped off. It was so narrow. Of course, you know, we went across the bridge. Anyway, that's part of being a teenager in Mississippi. Here's Buddy and Peggy, my folks. That's my mom and dad about a year and a half before it came along. Buddy, Peggy. Yes, sir, that was their mode of transportation. They were Harley riders even back in the day. And you know, my dad was a paint and body man for 30 years. My mom was a housewife for most of those 30 years. She went back and got her GED and got her bookkeeping license and just did some good things. But this is them back in the early or mid 1952s, thereabouts. That's their transportation before. Oh yeah. Yeah. So Mom and Dad are in our trailer there. That trailer was before Dad built our house. And let me tell you one of the remembrances, 2 or 3 remembrances I have about that trailer. It was a 3-room trailer, not a 3-bedroom trailer, a 3-room trailer, living room, kitchen, and the bedroom. And whenever it rained, we would be running around getting pots to put underneath the leaks in the ceiling. Yeah. I remember getting up there when I was probably 3 or 4 years old, sitting in my dad's lap in the morning, and he would pour his coffee out in the saucer and blow it off and drink it. That's how long I drink coffee, folks. You know, you wouldn't do that these days, but there it is. And of course, this is how you corral the kids back then with plywood box and pillows and everything. That was me. That's all my brothers and sisters there with me. Yes, I am an only child. Never did figure out or ask why they never had more. I know. This is the house. Karen took this picture when we were down there. My dad built this house by himself. He would go to a lumber store. He would ask for $25 worth of lumber, used lumber. And he'd bring it home and build what he could. If you look over here, it didn't always look this nice. There's where he is. This is my mom. There's a window where he hasn't finished it. He laid the blocks. He put the porch. He did all that good stuff. You will look over the back. There's woods all around us. All around us. I wandered in the woods a lot. If if that was one thing I would fault my parents for, they didn't make me work. Okay? I know. Karen's looking at me funny, y'all. Y'all make her stop. I got to read. I got to play in the woods. I got to use my imagination. I got to ride my bicycle up and down the gravel road. In fact, it was so isolated that you knew who was coming by the sound of their car. We knew. My cousins, Jackie and Gail, lived right down the street this way. My Uncle Jack, who was a D-Day veteran, just right up about 50 more feet, lived Grandma. Just a little bit down the way, lived Aunt Mamie and Uncle Cliff. So I had family all around here. If Uncle Jack didn't get you, and he probably would, Uncle Cliff would get you. I'll tell you about it, tell your mom and dad about it. But Dad built that house by himself. It didn't rub off. I can barely drive a nail. Nonetheless, kudos to him. Okay, this is this is me. This is how we deal with the heat in Mississippi way back when. We just stripped off our clothes, you know. So if you want to know how to deal with the Nashville heat, just strip off your clothes. That'll work. 1963, 64, I'm 10 or 11-ish there. Senior pictures. Cool. Yeah, look at the sideburns. I got away with that one. I had an idyllic childhood, and it was a blessed childhood. It was isolated, it was lonely, but it was good. Uncle Jack, Aunt Lena, Grandma, my cousins, Jackie and Gail. My cousin Jackie passed away some time ago. I did his wedding, I did his funeral. He was 1 or 2 years older than I. And it was good. Well, this is where my journey began, my spiritual journey. It was the I-20 Church in Vicksburg, Vicksburg Church of Christ, Interstate 20 Church. It still looks exactly like that. It was a group of kind, loving, tolerant people who loved me. Now, they were conservative, spiritually and religiously. They would, you would feel comfortable with them, and they weren't mean, but they were just kind of conservative. You know, we had gospel meetings, etc., etc. And that's where my spiritual journey began. So you're thinking, wow, Hart, did you read the Bible all the time, and did you study and go to Bible class? And I thought, hey, no, man, I was getting ready to go to college. And there I am, my college ID from 1971. Notice the groovy hair? Yeah, it was good. So I was not really spiritually inclined at that point, but I recognized these were good people and everything. Went to high school and college for 1 semester. I was born witless. I'd already studied that in high school. We had good high school, and it was like, I made C's, a couple of F's. The thing about college, you can drop the class before the F takes hold, you know. So, 1971 and 1972, I married my high school sweetheart. We'll talk about that more just a little bit later. That is my ex-wife. And we married there in the Vicksburg church, and we were together for some time. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But there we are, we're going to start making a life for ourselves. We decided we would go to church. We started making friends at church, we got involved in church. And on my days off from Sears, where I worked, yes, I sold shoes. Yeah. And so at Sears, where I got my day off, I would go and I would talk to the ministry dudes. And they were good to me. They were encouraging to me. And I was 20. This man right here altered my life irrevocably and for the best, more than any other individual probably in my entire life. That's Cecil May Jr. Some of you know him. He's been a minister and a preacher for a long time. He is now retired. Cecil was in his 40s. He knew that I was interested in ministry. And so one day he finally just said to me, if you want to go to preaching school, I'll help you. Folks, there was no reason for Cecil or the elders to really have a lot of confidence in me at that point. We took a risk. And so that congregation supported me while I went to preaching school. You remember that was back, some of you remember back in the day, around 1974-ish, that there was a minister shortage, and so schools of preaching cropped up. They were 2-year programs, usually very intense. Cecil knew about Harvey. I had never heard of Harvey. Okay, sorry about that. I just never had. But I was in the Alpha class of the Christian Communications program. Again, it's had several other names and iterations. Guess who else? Guess who else was in that same class? Tell them, Bob. Bob has the road. Bob and I have a 40-plus year history, going back to the time we spent from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon studying Bible. Every 6 weeks we had a different course, or a different semester, so to speak. And we were crammed full of knowledge. Here I am graduating. Yeah, I had to get my hair cut. You know. There I am graduating. I was so proud. I was so smart then. Oh man, I was smart. Oh, yeah. I'd studied the Bible a long time. So, subsequently, right there's Vicksburg, right there, Searcy, Arkansas, we moved to a little village church in Matthews, Missouri, in the Boot Hill area of Missouri. It's below Sikeston. There's about 500 people there. And one thing you may not know about me is that I get disoriented and lost easily. In that little town of 500, I once got turned around and could not find my way where I was. My beloved wife shares that trait with me, and so we have exciting times out in the town, let me tell you. So, thank goodness for Siri, you know, so like, from there, we moved to, we wanted to be more evangelistic. We wanted a mission field. We moved to Webster City, Iowa. If this group of people here had showed up at church, I thought it was in the wrong congregation. Because that's small. There are like 8 people. And so I spent 4.5 years there trying, and I really wasn't equipped for it, okay? But I tried. I had a daily radio program, a weekly newspaper article, and I tried. From there, I wanted to finish my degrees. We moved to Abilene, Texas. So from Vicksburg, Mississippi, Searcy, Arkansas, Matthews, Missouri, Webster City, Iowa, Abilene, Texas. I tell people that I've traveled to 4 foreign countries: Spain, Greece, Jamaica, and Iowa. So, you know, you might say, well, Mississippi should be added to that list. But, you know, Jamaica and Iowa was a different game for me, and it was a game changer. Along the way, yeah, Harvey the Third, right there. Daniel Laird, right there, my youngest. There's about 2 years difference between them. We moved there when there was probably 3 and 5 or thereabouts. That is one of my big regrets. I went to school full time, I worked full time. I was a mess. And probably neglecting the boys more than I should have. So Abilene Christian University, amongst other things, while I was there, I was an account executive and writer at Zachary Associates. It was a small advertising agency, but our agency specialized in places like Herald Truth, or Christian Broadcasting, the West Texas Rehab Center. We served a lot of nonprofits. And so I was able to get my foot into the nonprofit world. I improved my writing skills there. And this was, I think, a birthday party. Yes, it is a mustache. Yes, I am skinny. And, you know, but Abilene Christian University, I spent 5.5 years there. 5 years, 5.5 years. I got a BA in Advertising and Public Relations, and a BA in Bible. so in Abilene, got a great job offer in, good old Nashville, back in 1986. Does that not look great? I mean, you could actually go downtown back then, but, you know, this is where we came, bought our first house here. I had several jobs. I was director of development for a couple of places. I owned a creative business, a writing business, some unemployment, had some sales jobs. My wife and I, when we came to this congregation, we were like a new young family. We were looking for a place. Most of them recognized the building, right? Yeah, it's old Tuscany. And we stayed there for a while. They hired me on. I was the associate minister there until the year 2000. So I have had background in history with Tuscany. And in spite of that, most of you still like it. While I was here, I got my MA from Lisbon. And rarely have I felt dumber. I was talking to Steve Flatt at the graduation ceremony. He said, you know, I'm thinking about asking for my money back. I'm feeling dumb. And so I went from like really, really smart, you know, graduating from a 2-year preacher training program to like feeling really, really dumb with my MA. But that's what happened. 1986 to 2012. Up and down, all around, boys grew up, boys graduated, etc. Things were not good with me in my life. Part of it my fault. In fact, I accepted most of the blame for it, although in retrospect, you know, it goes both ways. In 2012, we had, August the 12th, to be specific, we had a big blowout. And I asked her in a very quiet tone, "Do you want me to leave?" And there was this pause. Yes. That destroyed my world as I knew it and had known it for 40 years. One night. Of course, you know that it just wasn't one night. But that's what happened. And so, all of a sudden, I had 3 days to get out of the house. And I don't know if you've ever had all of your stuff just taken away, the things, your house, your furniture, your puppies, the dishes you eat off of, the pots you cook out of. It's gone. And I relied on my wife a lot. I probably was a bit codependent, but all of a sudden I had to decide things and make major decisions like, where do I live? Where do I put my money? I was unemployed. Where do I get a job? I left home with my clothes. 1 bedspread, 1 towel, 1 wash rag. Oh, and my pens. We don't want to forget the pens whenever. But that's what I left with. I ask you to just imagine with me the complete devastation and destruction of life as I knew it. And I hope you never have to deal with that. Well, so where do I find some place to live? First off, I didn't have any money. And I went to a friend and I said, I won't tell you his name, but some of you know him. And I said, Renee and I are separated. It's over. And I need some money to find a place to live, to pay a deposit, to get utilities. How much you need? $1,000. You got it. So where do I find a place? I went to the most secure place that you could ever want to find a place to live. Craigslist. I was looking through Craigslist. I didn't know where to go, people. I didn't know what to do. Sure, apartments were kind of scarce around. I didn't have any money. I didn't have, and so I went to Craigslist, looking at it. Here it is. This is a place. This is it's about my price range, and I called Dean up. Dean sounded like a very pleasant, Midwestern guy. Just, yeah, he's very educated. He was in med school. Okay, this is good, So Dean apparently thought I was okay too. I went and visited Dean, and I'm driving through this neighborhood I've never been in before, and I'm looking around and said, something's weird. This isn't look right. This is strange. I go up and I'm thinking as I'm knocking on Dean's door. Sure enough, Dean opens the door and he's black. And I'm white. And we had that discussion. I said, you notice I'm white. I said, that a problem? No. And so I met people with Dean and Johnny. Johnny was also in medical school. And you say, well, what's the matter? Are you racist? No, I never have been that I know. But it was just unique. Here I am from rural Mississippi. And I'm moving in with 2 black guys. Unless you think I'm being weird about it, they used to say to their friends, we got this old white guy living with us. And I would tell everybody, I'm living with these 2 young black guys, But it was, in spite of its limitations, a beautiful experience. I got a job that I detested. I've told you about my educational background. I got a job at Walmart as a checker. And you know what the archetypical picture of Walmart employees are? It's like, yeah, if you stayed in college, you would be behind that register checking people out. I kind of had that attitude. He said, boy, Harvey, you're arrogant. And yes, I was. That's part of this journey. A good part. So I was a checker at Walmart. I detested it. And I was all the time, I had my divorce in my background, my worries about money, my small apartment, my room in the hood. Is this life? Is this what life is going to be like? I even expressed that to my counselor. Yes, I did. Counseling. I said, am I just going to be an old guy just dying here in my room in the hood? And she said one of those brave things to me. She said, not if you don't want to. Oh, thanks, Pat. Walmart taught me something different and new. I walked in from the parking lot one day, hating it. It was overcast. And I thought, no. I thought about Joseph and all the stuff he had been through. And how each step of the way, rather than reject and revile, and he said, he did his best. Beginning today, I am going to be humorous and friendly and joyful with my customers. And folks, from that day, that job began to change. I tell that to you not because of me, but because of Brother Joseph. My life in spirituality was bad. I remember nights laying in bed, crying. Lord, I want my life back. I want my wife back. Those words. Sometimes I would go to church and I couldn't stay. I would take the Lord's Supper and leave. I'd go out to the bookstore, to the coffee shop, across from Centennial Park, and just let my mind. So when people tell me, I just couldn't come to church today, I just couldn't, I just shake my head and say, I know. And it's okay. Spirituality, church life. And I was probably in a full blown. Months run together. My wife at the time and I were on top. We stayed separated for 4 or 5 years. The divorce took another 4 years or thereabouts. One day when you're thinking things can't just get any worse, I get a call from my mom's room friend across the breezeway from her apartment. By that time, my dad had passed. My mom had moved into an apartment for a keepsake. And her friend said, have you talked to your mom? Yeah, every week. What's up? Well, I went over there and she was kind of confused and I asked her if she wanted to make her an egg. And she said, yeah. Mom had dementia. She was moving toward that point where now what, Ultimately, I moved her to Nashville. That was a long process, a bitter process, a town she had stayed in for 50 years. Got rid of some of her furniture that she had so many years. Ultimately moved her to nursing home, Bethany, where some of you, by the way, went to see her, for which I'm forever grateful. My wife moved to Texas. I found out a day ahead of time that she was leaving. 24 hours. And I was working. I took an extra long lunch. I went, how are you going to get down there? I mean, you got the U-Haul. And she said, well, I have a friend who's going to help. I kissed my puppies goodbye. I kissed her on the cheek. And I left. They didn't bomb me, but it felt like. And now I have another job. I filed for divorce. She'd already threatened to file. You said, why did you file for divorce, Harvey? Because I knew she had a boyfriend that Harvey wanted to stay there. And I knew that if she filed in Texas, I was going to be having to fly in there and deal with it. I thought, okay, I'll pull the trigger first. And I did. It took another 2 or 3 years. Did sell a condo. That worked well. Here's the boys. Daniel, the youngest. Harvey, the oldest, with Grandma. The last picture they had all together while she was there in the assisted living place, Windlands. While there, I stayed with my mom. I slept on the floor, so Mom had the bedroom. Earl wasn't supposed to be there, but they kind of turned her blind eye because they knew I needed help. Ultimately, she fell a couple of times. I couldn't help her and go to work. Put her in nursing home. When she moved to a nursing home, that put me in another conundrum. I was living with her. Now what? Once again, a friend of mine that you know said, I have a room, an extra room in our house. There's plenty of room. You come live with me for a while. Folks, let me tell you, that's something about church that's so positive and so beautiful and so good. And that is you make these relationships and you support each other. And there are times when things just go so wrong in life that you have somebody to say, I got it. Well, Mom passed away. Yes, I'm going to tell the story. So Mom is up here. She's made all her arrangements down in Pittsburgh. It's going to cost me $2,000 to get her back down there. I don't want to do that. I got to thinking, you're wrong. So I called up the funeral director and I said, look, I know there's some issues about transporting bodies across state line. And he said, no problem. He says, I'm actually in charge of that for the state and I'll deputize you. So I called my son. No, I'm going to tell him. We're going to keep thinking. So I called my son. I said, "Son, look, I'm thinking about this." And he said, "Dad, I think we can get her in the back of my Explorer." So, so they embalmed her, put her on the gurney, put the sheet over her, it's very lovely. Went back my son's Ford Explorer up there, and put her in the back, and sure enough, she fit. And then to add insult to injury, my son starts pulling blue tarpaulins over the top of the gurney. Because he's thinking, like I'm thinking, the last thing you want is a Mississippi highway patrolman pull over and say, "Hey boy, what you got in the back of that car?" It's a body. My mom would have laughed. I laughed several times when that happened. We got her married. I did the funeral. I was living with my friend and I said, I'm thinking about coming back to Tuscaloosa. It had been years. I said, I'm really not sure how my divorce and other things that have gone on. I'm not sure how I'm going to be received. He said, "You going to be pleased?" I did. I should have known better. If you are ever thinking about shopping for a church home, let me tell you, Tuscaloosa is a unique place. It is a lovely group of people who are warm, accepting, and kind. This is a good place, people. It's got its faults, but it's good. And they're good people. I settled in. I had a good job. I was going to be just a Christian. I met with the elders. I said, "I'd be happy to teach Bible class every once in a while," but I wasn't going to really get involved in a lot of stuff. I was still messed up in the brain. And so I worship, I talk, life is okay. I got an apartment. That's another God thing, because this apartment that I checked out in November said, "We ain't got anything, we ain't going to have anything." I just whipped in there one April. Just whipped in there. And the lady said, "No, we haven't got." "Oh, wait. Can you come back in a couple of weeks?" I did, and I was. And it was a great location. COVID is rising, and then I get a call at night. There is no secret that 2 years ago we had a lot of upheaval in our congregation. And the elders had asked if I would preach the next Sunday. I have a little bit of experience in that, so okay. And I did. And that led to a year and a half, basically being interim minister, for which I'm more grateful than you'll ever know for what that did for me. I hope it did a little something for you. But for me, he meant everything. And then there's this cute girl sitting on the front row, and I just, I liked her, and we went out for dinner one day, and she told me later, she said, I didn't think you were ready. You were still kind of a mess. And so 2 years passed, and then it's kind of like she came back on Sunday, and that surprised her, and she surprised me, and I kind of went down and said, "Hey, it's good to see you back. How about lunch?" And it went from there quickly until we were married about 3 months later. Do you see how the wheel of fate is turning in my life? How dare I call it fate? Do you see what's happening? From absolute degradation and loss and shame, from not even having a pot to cook in, dough utensils, nothing. Slowly coming back, being welcomed, being loved, being encouraged, to finding a companion. So, to wrap a couple things up. In retrospect, I look back and I know that at every step God was with me. From friends who helped me, to being in a job that I detested that taught me a lot. Stuff that I needed to know. I found out there were beautiful people at Walmart. There were some lawyers there. There were some bridge builders. There were single moms trying to do the best for their family and going to school. My customers liked it. Did I tell you that I was the fastest checker at Walmart? Talking about an honor. Every month I was either the fastest or the second fastest. Put that on the resume. It was not always what I really wanted. It was the destruction of the world. You don't. By the way, just a little, I know most of you here are in a good situation and everything, but if you know somebody that's contemplating, maybe things are better over there. And for some people it may be. I'm telling you from personal experience, I understand why God says I hate divorce. It ain't because he hates divorced people. It's because he hates what it does to people. It wasn't always what I wanted. You know what? It was always what I needed. I was reaffirmed by you, by the elders, by my companion, by my God. Finally, I went back to where I am this day. I'm telling you that God is faithful and good. Now tomorrow I can lose all of you. But you know what else? I now have the confidence and the wherewithal to know. Okay? It's okay, no. I'll be back somehow. Though you have made me see troubles, many and bitter, you will restore my life again. From the depths of the earth, you will again bring me up. You will increase my honor. Sorry, and comfort me once more. My lips will shout for joy. I sing praise to you, I whom you have. Sorry. Excuse me, there are no questions. No. What's wrong? What do you want to do?
Tell us a little more about your boys.
My boys? Harvey III lives in Segovia, Spain. Harvey has lived in Europe, primarily in Spain, for the last 25 years. He works there. He teaches English online. He plays in a band. He does photography. He teaches at sometimes in some seminars and classes at the university there in Segovia, which is about 90 miles north of Madrid. He lived for about 15 years in Barcelona. Harvey is living the life that you'd probably like to live. So while I miss him, I'd love to have him home. I'd say more power to you, buddy. I went to Barcelona several years back. Folks, I only saw 3 other people there. It is the most absolutely beautiful country, and beautiful people, and beautiful food that you'd ever want to see. That's right. Daniel married about 6 years ago. He is, his wife is a director of human relations. Daniel is the director of financial analytics at Evercore. I don't know what that means, okay? I know that he deals with big data, that he does a lot of analyses, that he saved his company millions of dollars. So Mr. Daniel does well for himself. He's smart. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's smart. So that's my boys. That's what they're doing. They're not faithful. Both of them have been baptized. And so again, that's my burden to bear. Yes, ma'am. What? No. No.
I wish that you would have
Speak up, ma'am.
I'm gonna speak up. When we were dating, he had 2 boxes of pictures that Renee had given him, and he asked me after we had been together a couple months if I would sit down and go through them.
Can you hear me back?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. So, he always, you know, we had Skyped with Harvey in Spain, and Harvey is a good-looking guy, and so is Daniel. But Harvey is about what?
6'2".
6'2", he's tall, he's got dark hair, he is just, you know that senior picture of Harvey up there? He looks just like that with a little bit shorter hair. And because when I saw his senior picture, because when I started going through pictures, I went, you're a short version of your son, which he didn't like me to say. But I mean, they could be twins. And then when I got to the bottom of the boxes, there were pictures of his mom and dad. And there was his dad, Harvey the first, Harvey the second, and the other one is Harvey the third. They're triplets. And he had never seen it. But when we put the pictures up, 1, 2, 3, he went, I can't believe that.
And I have added thanks to Ms. Perry for going with me through those boxes. I can't begin to tell you the wreck that my brain was in. I had not looked at those pictures for years.
He said he couldn't do it by
I did
himself.
not have the, whatever it was called, to do that. But she sat there and went with me with me. We had a good time.
Harvey,
Yes, ma'am.
I just found out that I have a son older than you. He sure is. He passed away in 2002.
So that's a bitter loss. Anybody else? We've been kind to put up. Yes, sir.
What do you enjoy teaching? You know, if you could plan, your teaching curriculum for a year, what kind of journey would you want to take class on?
I tend to like the Old Testament because I view it as foundational to the study of the New Testament. Years ago, I started using the New American Standard Bible. The New American Standard Bible has a little unique thing where they capitalize all the quotations from the Old Testament. And really, it hadn't dawned on me until then, and it's been 20 years ago or so, maybe longer. It's like, holy cow, these New Testament dudes really got into their Old Testament. Well, of course, it was their Bible. In spite of its difficulties, I think a good foundational understanding of the Old Testament opens your eyes and your minds to the brilliance of the New Testament. And so I like the apocalyptic literature. I'm not well versed in it. Books like Daniel, parts of Ezekiel, certainly reflective of Revelation. But I suppose I would spend a lot more time in the Old Testament in my choice. But I don't mind teaching the New Testament. It's powerful too.
Hey, Harvey, it's a year and a half that you preached. You said it reaffirmed you. Can you go into details about, did it give you self-confidence? Or did it make you feel like you were back where you wanted to be? Or, you never thought it would come back to that point? Or?
Well, I told you I was content to be just a Christian. Teach when I needed to, serve when I could, but I was not going to get really up in have to understand that, first, as many of you know, divorce has just been a real bugaboo in our fellowship. And so I was not sure how I was going to be accepted. On the other hand, it filled me with such shame and disgrace and horror that I did not feel worth anything. To be asked to step into this was not just an affirmation of me, but it was a blessing from God, an affirmation from Him that you are worthwhile when you have something to offer. So, do what you can while you can. And when time comes, step back out of the way and they close that chapter. So it was a reaffirmation, really, in a lot of ways of the use of talent, use of experience, the use of, and just saying, are you worth something? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Harvey, then after you preached for a year and a half and we hired Mark, we hired you into this new role, which,
yes,
was just kind of we wrote a job description, but it was loosely defined as, teaching minister and pastoral care. Could you kind of let everybody know how that's developed and how they could engage what it is you do and how you can help them and they can help you and that kind of thing?
one of the things that I've thought that I've discovered about myself is that I encourage people. When you meet me out there, I will usually not have anything bad to say. I hope I leave you with an uplift. And so part of my work, as I see it as a pastoral care minister, is to say, I love you, I'm behind you, I want to help you any way you want me to help you. I may know people in situations that you don't, so if you need something, I may know that person who can fill that need. And so if you know of somebody or a situation, let me know. I probably won't have the answer, but I can find out. And so I teach. Again, I hope my Bible classes are affirming and uplifting. I tend to try to call a lot of people and say, hey, how are you doing? I know you had this situation. I visit some, and just try to say, I'm here for you. Yes, sir.
How did it make you feel? Because you said, you know how people were going to accept you being divorced and all that. How did it make you feel when people would come up to you and say things like, oh, should you be our full-time preacher or stuff like that? Did that help build you up, or did it make you feel like, I don't want to do this? Like, how those kind of conversations? Because I know that you and I had one or two conversations about it. I know that you didn't really want to do full-time, but how did that help or hurt or sway you in the way you do?
I always accepted those as compliments, and I appreciated them. Any of us always like to feel like we're affirmed and appreciated, so I took it as that. But I try not to think, let it go to the head too much. It's kind of like, nice of you to say thanks, it's gracious. When the elders were looking for another minister, I'll be honest, the thought crossed my mind. I'm 68. Mark is the man, that generation of that hour. His lessons are brilliant and spot on. And so I did not really need or want that kind of situation at this point in my life. I'm retired. I am retired. I am a minister, and that's great. I have a lovely and delightful wife. Fantastic. My life's pretty good. So that would not have been the right thing for me or for Tuscany. What has happened has been the right thing. Don't know if it hits my face. Oh, yeah, go.
Yeah. I just want to say publicly that, many of us here are old enough to appreciate what just happened. The intense pain that's inside you. And how you've overcome that. How you've worked your way through it.
It's been God.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for what you have contributed to the Tuscany Church in the last 2.5 years. You have been a source of nurturing, of feeding, of calming, and tremendous help in a turbulent time to be able to share with us. And you are admired by many, and we thank you.
You've been more than kind. Father, be with us as we go forth. We give you thanks. We give you praise. We give you joy. You who have redeemed us and brought us back from the pit and blessed our lives in so many ways, and many of which we do not even know about. Bless us now as we go forth. Help us to encourage each other. In Jesus' name. God bless you. Who died